So this last week I've been doing a doll room makeover. If you've watched the last 3 videos, you will have seen me rearranging and dusting, all part of having a doll collection. But what if a doll collection is way more than dusting or stressing about space or chasing down consumerism and worrying about the next doll? What if your doll collection is a portal and a doorway to adventure, to the big wide world beyond the doll room or the doll shelf? I think the way to turn your doll collection into a portal is to get brave enough to take your dolls outside with you. That's what I've also been doing in the last week, and I've got 8 reasons why I think you should too. So which of my gorgeous dolls came out with me on an adventure in the last week? Well, a big clue. It was one of these Equestria girls, and it was this one, this beautiful orange and yellow girl. So where did we go? Well, we went to the most spectacular castle, Kenilworth Castle. It was a hot, sunny Saturday morning. It was so beautiful just to grab a picnic and to go out and to explore what is possibly renowned as one of the most haunted castle sites in the whole of England. It is the most amazing place. Me and the kids have been here quite a number of times, but it's the first time I've ever taken a doll along with me, and it was so much fun, guys. It was just so much fun. So beyond any of the points I'm about to tell you, just the fun of it, just the crazy fun of being brave enough to take a doll with you. So we explored the castle, we explored the amazing gardens that are at Kenilworth, gardens with an aviary and a water fountain, which was lovely to stand next to because it was so warm. And then as my 2 younger teenagers raced around the castle exploring and waving at me, I sat with my eldest daughter, Tilly, having a lovely relax and a picnic. We pulled tarot cards, we chatted, and we included the doll. We went and found places to take photographs, and we just generally had a lovely time in amongst the packed sandwiches, crisps and yogurts, and it was just a delight. So that was our trip out, but why would you even bother to take a doll out on a trip with you? Well, here are my 8 reasons why. The first reason being, I think before you've even gone out the door, looking at your collection and trying to identify a doll that you want to take with you for a trip, it gets you to connect and identify the energies that you feel coming off your dolls. When I knew I was going to Kenilworth, I've been there before, I kind of knew the atmosphere of the place. I knew kind of the feel and the energy of the place I was going to. This great big stone castle that in places feels a little bit foreboding. They do say it's one of the most haunted castles out there, and I just needed a doll that matched the energy, and it didn't take me long to land on this one. So I think before you even got out of the door, when you're taking a doll out with you, choosing the doll really does help you to start to identify what you feel about the doll, the energies that you can feel coming off it. I think to decide whether a doll is right or not for a trip, you have to get to that point. And I immediately felt more connected and more understanding of what this doll is and who she is in my collection by identifying that energy. And she was absolutely perfect for a trip to Kenilworth. And of course, because I like to name my dolls myself, she immediately after the day has been called Kenny after Kenilworth, and I just love her name now. So she is Kenny, and every time I look at her I can feel that energy of the castle coming off her. So it's a fantastic way right from the get-go to identify the energy and connect with the energy of your dolls. The second reason to take a doll out with you is it develops your nerve and your bravery and your badassery to be unapologetically yourself, because there is no way you can sneak around like a quiet wallflower when you've got a doll with you. So I have found this the toughest aspect, the most challenging aspect, but probably the most useful aspect of taking a doll out with me. That kind of embarrassment of being seen with a doll. So I started off with lots of thrifted bags. I've got loads of thrifted bags. I started off just carrying this one round my neck, and in this one I was carrying one of my Enchantimals. She is just a really lovely comfort doll. The fur on her is lovely to stroke. She's got a little pet, and for me this Enchantimals is kind of linked to the moon for me, and the moon helps to keep me calm and grounded. So because she represents the moon, to start with I got used to just taking her out round my neck so I could constantly feel that comfort of a doll. I never got her out, I never showed anybody I'd got a doll with me, and I kind of got used to the idea of it, so I kind of eased into this gently. And when I took Kenny out with me, I picked a bag especially that matched her out of my collection. So I think it's quite nice to find bags that match, and I was determined this time that I would be a bit braver and I would get her out more. It was easier for me because I have the kids with me. I had Tilly with me, so I could almost pretend that it was Tilly's doll because we were doing things together with the doll. So it still is tricky for me, but when I started setting up to take photos, people were walking by and I began to relax into it more and thinking, no, this is a hobby, this is something creative, and I'm not going to feel like I've got to skulk in the shadows just because it's something a bit different. At the end of the day, who wants to be completely ordinary? Who wants to deny their passions and their loves? I wasn't hurting anybody, and at the end of the day, I felt like the next trip out with a doll, I'm really going to be braver, and it was just lovely. So I felt like me and Kenny kind of grew together a little bit, and of course Tilly adored it too. So take your dolls out to develop your bravery, your badassery, and to teach yourself never to hide your light or to be embarrassed about your passions. I bet there was more than one person watching me wishing that they'd got a doll with them as well. Point 3 for taking your dolls out is what I said I was doing. I was setting her up and taking photographs of her. It develops your creativity. I knew that she would look gorgeous against the setting of a castle. I think the colours that she is just worked so beautifully against the trees and the brick. So I knew that I would enjoy taking photos of her there. I didn't take very many because I'm still getting brave, but next time. So I think it can really develop your creativity to think of where you're going, to think of a doll that would look great, and to set up photographs. So photographing your doll, I mean, whenever we go out on trips, we tend to have our phone with us. We tend to take photographs of the scenery we're looking at. How about a few of those photos? You put the doll somewhere in there and take photos of the doll. I think it's a beautiful way to think outside of the box, to think about outside the normal snapshots, and to start getting creative. So develop your creativity. It's good for the mind, it's good for the soul, and it's definitely good for you and your connection to your dolls. The fourth reason for taking a doll out on an adventure is a big one, I think. It turns the doll kind of into like a vessel. It almost turns the doll magical. So what do I mean by a vessel? Well, it's a vessel for the memories of the day. So whenever now I look at this doll, I kind of hear Tilly's giggles. I feel the sunlight of the morning on my shoulders. I taste the picnic again. I hear the birds flying in and out of the castle walls. I feel the magic of the day. All of the magic and the wonderful tangible memories have been placed into this doll. She's become a vessel for the magic of our everyday life, and that is pure magic right there. She holds all the magic of that day. She holds the conversations we had. She holds the giggles of my kids. She holds the waving of my kids from the castle walls. She holds all those bravery moments I experienced. They're all now contained within her, and that really transports your doll from one level to another. She is now a vessel for all of those moments, and you can imagine the more adventures I go on with her, the more of a vessel and a memory holder she will become. She is literally like a little life holder, and it's just so wonderful, especially in an age where I've got 3 teenagers who none of them now want a camera pointed at them really. So taking snapshots to hold memories with a camera with teenagers, if you've ever parented teenagers, you'll know that that gets to be a no-go area. But I can get a doll out or carry a doll in my bag, and she will hold all the memories that previously a photo album might once have held. And that is such a fantastic reason to take a doll out with you. So the 5th reason to take a doll out with you on an adventure is kind of a spin-off from that point forward. It turns your dolls into vessels. Because how many times have you thought to yourself in life, gosh, I wish I could go back in time and touch and feel that experience or that memory again? Well, if you've turned your doll into a vessel and all of that memory is poured into her, you've literally also turned your dolls into holdable, huggable, tangible memories that you can pick up and hold and experience again and just sit and spend time with. Tangible memories. I just think that idea of a doll becoming a memory that you can physically in reality hold is again such a magical thing to turn your dolls into. So when I pick this doll up now and feel all the memories inside of her, it is almost like reliving those memories all over again, and that is wonderful too. Okay, point number 6 for taking a doll out on an adventure with you is also an important one. I think when you start looking at your collection on the shelves and planning adventures for them, it slows down consumerism. This is a massive issue for me. In my last 3 videos where I did my doll room makeover, I showed you the amount of dolls still in boxes that I've got and the amount of doll consumerism I've been caught up in. I have been buying so many dolls, and it becomes like a frenzy. I touched about this in my FOMO video as well, and I think there's no way we can get around that. I think sometimes that is just part of being a collector, having that collector's spirit and just being passionate about buying dolls. And I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's just part of human nature. It's a part of us as collectors, but sometimes it gets exhausting. And I think to walk into the doll room and not to be thinking of what you're going to buy next or where you're going to store it or the next doll, but to look at your dolls and think, wow, what is the energy coming off this doll? Where could I take this doll that matches the energy of the doll? What's my next adventure? It is a distraction away from the consumerism of our hobby and our doll world, and it becomes more spending time with the doll, and it's exciting. It gets you outside, it gets you moving, it gets you out into the real world, which I think sometimes collecting can push you inside and isolate you sometimes. So I think a way to use our collection to un-isolate ourselves is a fantastic reason to start taking your dolls out with you. I think planning adventures for the dolls is the best antidote to being stuck in the consumerist trap and frenzy, and it's worked for me so far and I've loved every second of it. So stepping away from consumerism is another great reason to start having adventures with your dolls. Point number 7 for going out on an adventures with your dolls is what happens when you come home. Now, I used to do a funny thing when I had an Irish Terrier called Maisie. I would always go to bed and imagine my dog's diary. What would my dog be writing? I used to gauge how good a dog mum I'd been for the day. If there was a day where I imagined I had a terrible day today, mum was out all day and I did nothing, then I used to feel really awful. But some days I imagined had the most epic day today. We went on a 3-hour hike and then mum cuddled me for an hour. So I always used to do it the whole time I had my dog, my Irish Terrier. I always imagined what they would be writing in their diary. And it's the same with the dolls. When I got back from the castle, I suddenly did the same with my doll. I imagined the doll writing a journal entry, and then I thought about my desk here and I thought about the fact that I want to journal more, and I thought what a lovely way to step into more regular journaling, not only to write journal entries for yourself, and if you've taken pictures of the doll out on an adventure, they're beautiful things to add to a journal, to get printed out and to add in, but also to write from the doll's perspective. What an amazing way to tap into aspects of yourself, probably writing from your perspective and the doll's perspective. I just think there's a lot there that you could mine for just really good soul food. Now, I know that one of the things that she would have written is she didn't like the bag because I kept catching her hair in the bag. And I think that is part of developing empathy with the doll. I kept catching her hair in the zipper. There was nothing I could do about it, and it made me feel really bad. And it made me realise when I'd got the doll with me, I wanted her to have a nice day too, and I was really sad I'd caught her hair. I think that kind of developing empathy for another human or pet or doll in this case is just another lovely way to connect. And imagining journal entries, even if you don't write them down, just imagining the doll's journal or you writing a journal and talking about your adventures. It's a really lovely way to build empathy, to build connection, but also to step into journaling. And I think the benefits of journaling are long known and long talked about, and it's really made me want to get the journal out, get my pen out, and to make sure that I have some doll entries in my journals. So stepping into journaling is another fantastic reason to take your dolls out with you. And lastly, the last reason for taking your doll out with you on dolly adventures is it turns your doll collection into the big wide world. You're not just opening the door onto dolls and the next purchase, you're literally opening the door onto a world of adventures, portals, which is what I started off by saying. And you're no longer connecting to your doll collection through dusting or rearranging or stressing about space or money or chasing in a frenzy the next doll to buy. You're no longer worrying about, are you going to get the next limited edition doll before they sell out? All of those things, again, they're part of being a doll collector. I mean, I know the dusting and the doll arranging and the room makeovers, I've loved that equally as much as going out on adventures. However, it's not the only way I want to connect with my dolls. If my dolls are just represented by how much dust they're holding and how much I need to dust them and sort the shelves out, then it wouldn't be as fun. I would by far prefer to be connecting with my dolls through adventure as much as dusting, especially as an older member of the doll collecting community. I think there is an inbuilt ageism into the doll collecting world. I think if you see, say, a teenager out with a bag full of funky dolls, you just think they're that. You think they're funky and amazing and, oh, what fun. But if you see an older lady out with a doll, you just think, oh, sad empty nester. There is an immediate jump to judgment when it comes to age, which is one of the reasons I am having to really push myself to be brave, because I don't want anybody to look at me and see that, because inside there's still the funky teenager who just wants to play with her dolls. But I think just getting out and doing it and connecting some incredible adventures through your dolls, you'll soon show the world and yourself that you are not just an empty nester trying to find something else to love when your kids flee the nest. And that is part of it. It's all part of it. Aren't we complex? We are one thing and we're not that thing, and we're another thing, but we're also not that thing either. We are all just complex, amazing human beings who deserve to have incredible adventures. And if you love dolls, include them. Connect to your doll collection through adventure as much as dusting. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Those are my 8 reasons for why I think we all should be taking our dolls out with us. Join me next time in the doll room, and if you liked that, hit like and hit subscribe. I'd love to have you here for regular doll chats. So I'll see you next time in the doll room. Bye.